friends, I'm Jason. It is the 18th of August 2017 at the time of recording, and you are watching Comic Book Overload. Every week I go out and spend far too much money on comics, read the comics, have an overload of opinions on my brain, and this is where I come to download the overload and share with you my opinions on the books I've read in the last 7 days. This is later than originally intended. I planned to do this video on Monday. It's now Friday, but life got in the way, and not sometimes, no matter how well you plan things, life just has a habit of getting in the way. But without further ado, let's get in these books. And as those who've been watching my videos recently will know, I'm getting back into all the Spider books after really enjoying Spider-Man Homecoming, and I'm trying a few out. This week it was the turn of Spider-Gwen, issue number 22. This features part 4 of the current story, which is Predators. And it did go back and get the previous 3 issues, so I've read all 4 parts of this story. I really enjoyed this. I really like the character of Gwen Stacy in this. For those of you that don't know about this book, it's set in a different universe, where instead of Peter Parker, Gwen Stacy was bit by the spider and she becomes Spider-Woman. Peter Parker then, wanting to be a hero like his friend, injected the serum that he and Doc Connors had invented and becomes the Lizard. Ultimately, he ends up getting killed. Spider-Woman gets the blame, and she's now wanted by police, including her father, Captain Stacy. She then reveals herself to her father, who then lets her go. This all happened in the Edge of the Spider-Verse issue. And then from there, I don't know exactly what's happened, but Captain Stacy's now in prison, and he's going to use his day in court to kind of highlight that Spider-Woman is innocent. Matt Murdock, who we all know in the regular Marvel Universe as Daredevil, he's the kingpin of crime here, and also a top lawyer, and he hires Rhino to take out Captain Stacy, as Rhino seems to be his main henchman. Meanwhile, Gwen is trying to look after Harry Osborn, who somehow has been infected with the serum of the Lizard, and he's turning into the Lizard, and she's trying to kind of help him or find a cure. You've got S.H.I.E.L.D. are after him, and they've sent Logan and Kitty Pryde to take down the Lizard, while meanwhile Matt Murdock's ninjas are also on the case. What I like about this a lot is, like, I love alternate universes. So to see these alternate versions of characters we know and love is really cool. But also I like the character of Gwen Stacy is really good here. And there's a lot of the whole Peter Parker vibe of she's trying to do the right thing, but things keep going wrong. And instead of making things right, she makes things more wrong, if that makes any sense. So I really like that character there. The differences as well in the characters. I love Logan's backstory in this, in that there's a curse on him. So for everybody he's killed and everyone he's going to kill is an extra year on his life. So that's why he kind of can't die and he keeps living, which I really think is a cool kind of alternate origin for Logan to come up with there. I love the relationship between him and Kitty, in that, like, it isn't kind of like a romance kind of deal, but there's like this deep friendship that we know, and kind of you see her character in a different light this issue. I loved this. The ending is like the only way that Spider-Woman can save Harry is through great sacrifice to herself, and kind of the issue builds to that, kind of showing you the story between Kitty and Logan, and it kind of builds to like Gwen having to make that decision. I really like this. I found it easy to follow. There were some little things like why is Captain Stacy in prison that I didn't quite get, and how did Harry become injected with the serum? I didn't quite get. But I'm going to try and get the back issues of this and get this, because I really enjoyed this, and I definitely will keep getting this one. And I'd give this issue of Spider-Gwen, which is issue 22, I'd give this one 8 out of 10. So the other Spider book I tried this week was Ben Reilly, The Scarlet Spider, issue number 1. We're currently up to issue 5, but I went back to issue 1 to kind of start at the beginning, if you will. This is written by Peter David, who's one of my favourite writers. I loved his run on X Factor. Also enjoyed his Hulk run. And then also the art is by Mark Bagley. So I went into this I read the original Clone Saga back as a kid, and so I had like a vague recollection of Ben Reilly. I hadn't read anything since his return, but he was a very different character in this than I remembered. The dude is basically crazy. He has, like, on the one hand, he wants to be a hero like Peter Parker and do the right thing and save people, but on the other hand, the best way to show is to show through example. There's a scene where he rescues a woman from a mugger, and he does the heroic thing, saves the woman. But then he demands $100 off the woman for saving her, and she only has 50, so he threatens her, "Make sure you don't screw me out of the other 50. I'll be expecting it." And kind of like that isn't very heroic, but that's kind of where he's at. He's down and out. He's got nothing, and he needs, so he'll do whatever he has to do to survive, which kind of is not how Peter Parker would deal with the situation. He'd have just saved the woman and kind of not look to gain anything from the situation. And so there you see the difference between the two characters straight away. He's also hearing voices. You've got his good side, which is the Scarlet Spider, and you've got his dark side, which is the Jackal. And like these two voices that he hears and kind of try and guide him in these different ways. It's made for an interesting thing. To me, however, though, kind of reading the character in this first issue, he doesn't come across very likable, and he comes across as a bit of a less charismatic version of Deadpool. And I'm already digging Deadpool, so why do I need to read him again in a less good version? However, there was a bit of shining light in this book, in the fact of that we feature Kane, the other clone of Spider-Man, and that's going to be interesting. These two characters meeting up and how that's going to go. So that at least gives the series a little bit of promise. I've bought the first 5 issues. I should have just read the first one before I wrote the others. But this was the first Spider book that I didn't enjoy out of the ones that I've tried. If I hadn't got the other 5, if I hadn't got the other 4 issues already, I wouldn't read the rest. I would have just dropped it after 1. But I like the writer, Peter David, so I got faith that he'll get on track, hopefully. So I'm going to read the other 4 issues and then kind of decide whether I'm going to carry on. But at the moment, it would be a no. And I'd give this one 5 out of 10. Mainly because there is the promise, at least, of Kane, and the art was good as well. So, yeah, not one I enjoyed. Speaking of books I didn't enjoy, we have Superman, issue number 28, written by the creative team of Peter Tomasi and Pat Gleason, with art by Scott Godlewski. This is the second part of the last issue, which I absolutely hated the last issue. This is a bit better, but that's not really high praise at all, because the last issue was horrendous. So, like, to be better than that isn't really that big of an improvement, really. We still suffer from the same problems. Not much goes on. They try to make points, but it all comes across a bit too preachy. Superman and Lois in this are just really unlikable and a bit creepy. I just didn't like it at all. However, I did like the end. They redeemed themselves with a good ending, and I'd give this issue 4 out of 10 again, same as last issue. However, going forward, last issue I said if it was anybody else, I'd have dropped this, but because I've enjoyed what they've done on the book in the past, I was going to stick with it. I kind of thought back, and I thought, yeah, I enjoyed the early days of this book, but I didn't really enjoy the end of the Manchester Black story, didn't enjoy the last issue, didn't enjoy this issue. I think I've been beyond generous. I'm going to give them one more issue, issue 29, which kicks off the Superman Sinestro story, which I think is going to run for 2 issues. I'm going to read that. If that does not improve, then I'm going to drop this. Even though, like, I like the creative team and I like the character and I like the book, I just feel like at twice a month to buy a book I'm not enjoying, it's just not worth it. So we will see. Watch in the next episode of Comic Book Overload, where I will review that issue, and we will see, will I drop it or will I keep it? Moving back to Marvel now, A Galaxy Far, Far Away, we have Star Wars Darth Vader, issue number 4, written by Charles Soule, with art by Giuseppe Camuncoli. This was another really fun issue. It's mainly a fight scene, So the issues are really quick read, but every issue is really fun. Last issue, Vader has to get a lightsaber from a Jedi to become fully Sith, but he's killed all the Jedi. So he's managed to find a remaining Jedi, and their first fight didn't go well, with Vader kind of ending up broken at the bottom of a mountain. This issue kind of sees a rematch, and I liked that it was the arrogance of I've got to get the guy's name right, of Master Infinite, and much like the arrogance of the Jedi that led to their downfall, thinking they were untouchable, and kind of the way they behaved and dismissed things. Um, that really led to the Jedi's downfall and allowed Palpatine to kind of do his plan, even though his plan was a really cool, really good plan, and really how he worked it all out was fantastic, and manipulated things from both sides was awesome. But if the Jedi hadn't been so arrogant, it wouldn't have worked as well. And in this, it's his arrogance that presuming Vader is dead and not checking that allows Vader to recover and kind of come back. And where the first fight was fought on Master Infinity's terms, this battle is fought more on Vader's terms, and Vader, uses the guy's weakness of caring for others, which like isn't in normal life a weakness, but when you're in a battle to the death with Vader, caring about others is a big weakness, especially when others are around. And Vader uses that to kind of defeat Athena, and yeah, it was good. So yeah, I liked that. I liked that a lot. I'm just checking my notes to see what else I want to say. So yeah, that's basically everything I wanted to say. I'm enjoying this book, even though kind of in some ways it feels kind of there isn't. It's a very quick read each issue because a lot of it is kind of the battles. But it's every issue I'm ending on, I'm happy, and yeah, I'm interested to see where we're going to go next. And I'd give this issue 8 out of 10. So sticking again with Marvel, which we seem to have a lot of Marvel so far this week, we have Secret Empire issue number 8, and I've been enjoying this event. I didn't enjoy issue 6, but overall, I think this has been Marvel's best event since probably Avengers vs. X-Men. And I know a lot of people didn't like that event, but I quite enjoyed that one. And compared to what followed, I think that was a pretty good event. So this issue, again, it's written by Nick Spencer. We have 4 artists on the book. The excellent Daniel Acuna. We have Rod Reese, Sean Izakski, and Java Tartaglia. I hope I pronounced those names correctly, didn't butcher them too much. So this is the hope issue, if you will. As kind of like all through the series, Hydra have been on top and kind of crushing any kind of resistance or hope. And this issue, it's like the heroes unite and stand firm, and hope returns. And I liked it, and I liked the structure of the issue and how we build, and how like they kind of build up, and then they come to strike and they fall down and it fails and they have to lift themselves up again. And I really like the structure. So like by the time you get to the conclusion, I was like super pumped for this and for the next issue, and I really enjoyed it. Really a good uplifting issue that I enjoyed. Again, I'm still loving how they're juggling all the different characters. I think that's really cool. I did, as a gripe, there's a couple of events that happened between issues that certainly didn't happen in the last issue of this, and I'm kind of left thinking they must have happened in other books. That kind of lost me slightly, but not much, because kind of they filled in what had happened, but it was kind of like, wait, when did that happen? But overall, like I say, I'm really enjoying this. I'm excited for the next issue. Definitely Marvel's best event in many years. I think I'm really enjoying it more. I think because kind of I've read all of Nick Spencer's Sam Wilson and Steve Rogers Captain America runs. I've read all of that event. I can't remember what the event was called, but it was the one where Maria Hill had the base where she was keeping the criminals and had brainwashed them all. I can't remember what that event was called right now, but that event plus Civil War 2, if you look at all of that stuff as kind of like the prelude to build to this event, I think you'd enjoy it a lot more. And I read all of those, and so I've seen all this build up, and I think that's maybe why I'm a bit more invested in this. I think if maybe you just read Civil War 2, but you hadn't read none of the other stuff, I don't know if it would resonate as much for you. But like I say, I'm really enjoying this, and I give this issue 8 out of 10. So next up, we got a book that came out a few weeks ago. It is Mech Tech. Let me put my teeth in properly. We have Mech Cadet U, issue number 1, written by Greg Pak, with art by Takeshi Miyazawa, and published by Boom Studios. This is a variant cover. I saw this when it came out, was tempted, resisted temptation, but while I was on holiday, I saw it in a comic shop again, and I was like, I'm going to get that this time, and I'm glad I did. I enjoyed this. It's a funny book in the sense of it didn't blow me away, but I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed it because of the potential it shows. And I'm really excited for what's to come with the book, and I think it sets everything up nicely. Doesn't blow you away, but you end it. I'd enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to what comes next. It reminded me of the cartoons I watched as a kid on TV, and I think this would make a great series. And basically, we live in this world where there's robots, and this robot came to Earth and bonded with this human called Skip Tanaka, and they became this superhero team that defended the Earth. And now every so many years, a few robots come, and these cadets kind of get a new robot, and that's how it's always been. And we meet our main character, Stanton, who wants to be a cadet, but he's a janitor, and he's a really likable underdog, and he finds this robot that's crashed, and kind of that's where, like, they say you can't have this robot, but then something happens, and it looks like things may end up all right for him. A really nice introduction for Stanton, and he comes across as a really likable character that you want to succeed. On the flip side, we have Park, who is the top cadet. She's also the daughter of the general. They're both very unlikable characters, and she wants a robot, but the robot that crashed was going to be hers, so she doesn't get a robot. So there's a twist with her story at the end as well that I don't want to spoil, but she comes across like she's going to be the villain of the piece, or at least the rival to Stanton, and is not likable at all. And I thought it did a good job of introducing those characters, introducing us to this world, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really, really good stuff. And like I say, it didn't blow me away. It isn't that kind of book, but it's a book that, like, I think potential that it shows is really good, and I'm excited to see what comes next. And I'm going to give Mech Cadet U 8 out of 10, and I'm definitely going to be picking up the next issue. So next up we have The Defenders, issue number 4. This is one of my favourite Marvel books right now. After saying I wasn't going to pick it up, I'm now completely hooked on this book. This issue, there's a couple of really interesting things that happen. I liked the fight between Iron Fist, Jessica Jones, and Diamondback, and kind of like, that is good. Kind of, we ended on a cliffhanger with that last issue, and it doesn't get addressed until about halfway through. But I never kind of clicked until we got to that scene. I'm thinking, oh yeah, that happened with last issue with Diamondback and Iron Fist, and kind of, so that's how good this book is, because it gets you so drawn into other stuff. At the first half of the issue is really set around about this drug that Diamondback is selling, and I'm gathering is going to become a bigger thing. So that gets all introduced, and we have a cameo from the Miles Morales Spider-Man, and kind of it plays into the story that we saw in his book. So I'm kind of like super excited that possibly he's going to become a defender, or maybe that was just Bendis kind of linking into his other books. I don't know, to show that they're in the same part of the world. I don't know. But I loved that little bit of a cameo, and I would love to see Miles come a part of this team. I think he'd fit in really well, and be an interesting kind of teammate for the team. So yeah, that was really cool. And like I said, then we have the big battle, and it was just another great issue. The art, as always, by Marquez is just fantastic. He's developed into a real top-notch artist, and Bendis is just in his top form here with this book again. And all the way through, I was hooked. From when I picked it up to I finished it, I didn't put it down. It was just brilliant all the way through, and I continue to really enjoy this, and I really recommend this. If you're a fan of the TV series or these characters off the TV shows, it's definitely worth a go. And I would give The Defenders issue number 4 8 out of 10. So my final book this week, it is Mr. Miracle issue number 1, written by the excellent Tom King, with art, colours, and inks by Mitch Gerard. And this was a funny book in the sense of, if I was going to do this review halfway through the book, I would have been so confused and I wasn't enjoying it at all because I was just totally confused. But by the end of it, I enjoyed it. I'm still confused. I have theories about what's happening, but I don't kind of want to speak about them because I don't want to spoil this for anyone who's not read it. But I do have theories for where we're going with this. But it wasn't a book that is crystal clear, and I would get that this isn't a book for everybody because it's a book that doesn't give you a load of answers. It sets up a lot of questions instead. Um, so that wouldn't be for everybody, and maybe for some this would be a better read as a trade where you're at least going to get some of them answers. But I really like this. And it's kind of funny in the sense of you come away from it, I don't know any more about this character. All I knew about him was what I'd seen in Justice League. So I kind of like, that was all I knew. And coming out of the book, I didn't know any more. But it sets up a lot of intriguing stuff. And it's just brilliant how King pulls off not really telling you that much about the character, but at the same time, kind of totally making it a really intriguing book and kind of making you want to see what happens next. And I always say, if a book makes you want to come back and see what happens next, it's been a success. The other thing that amazed me about this book is Mitch Gerard. That he inks, colours, and draws the whole book is an amazing thing when you consider that it seems that the art and the colouring changes from like part of the book to part of the book. As the story goes on, it changes, and I would have sworn blind that it was multiple artists and colorists on the book. But the fact that it's just one person, I kind of tip my hat to Mitch Gerard showing such great skill to be able to do such different styles in one book is just amazing. Overall, like I've said, I enjoyed this. This would not be for everyone because it doesn't give you a lot of answers. It can be a bit confusing. It's one of those books you have to sit down and concentrate when you read. It's not a book you can kind of have the TV on and kind of be looking at the TV, reading a bit of the book. It isn't a book like that. You've got to pay 100% attention to it. But if you like a book that's a bit like a brain puzzle, this is the book for you. And kind of with who the character is, it makes sense. So I give Mr. Miracle issue number 1, 8 out of 10. So those are my books for this week. I will be back, fingers crossed, a couple of days' time with my reviews of the books I picked up this week. Thank you very much for watching, and yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I want to say. So I'll see you all in a few days. I hope you all are well. I've been Jason. This has been Comic Book Overload. Thank you once again for watching. Keep reading, and bye for now.